Hi, Dr. Steve G. Jones here, and in this half hour, we're going to talk about the psychology of Brexit, which is the British exit from the UK. And we're going to get into your reactions about that, how it affects you in a mental way, and how we can take a lesson from this. And we're also going to just talk about updates concerning that. I've got a lot of people around the world who tune in, so I'd like to hear from you, hear your thoughts, your reactions, your thoughts for the future, and I'll of course be sharing mine. So welcome. If you're just joining, go ahead and like this and share this, and you can subscribe up above so that you'll know the next time I'm on. I am neither a psychologist nor a newscaster. I am a hypnotherapist with a doctorate in education, but this is something that's topical and timely and something that's on people's minds. So as I prepare to do my half hour interactions on Facebook Live on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, if there's something that's going on that's popular in the news, that's on people's minds, that they're thinking about anyway and talking about anyway, I'm going to address that. So we'll take a moment, let people check in, and then we'll get right to it. Checking in, hello Brenda, hello Norma, hello Ida. Happy Friday to you too. I'm doing great, thank you. Erica, hello to you. Jane, hello. Kathy, hello. Louisa, hello to you. Theodora, hello to you. Good to see some recognizable faces and some new faces here. Hello, Jane, how are you? May, good afternoon to you too. It is Pacific time. It's about 12:15 on Friday here. And so I shoot for doing these Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, approximately 12 noon to approximately 12:30 noon Pacific time. If you want to figure out when you can tune in the future to catch me and share your thoughts. Of course, any questions about hypnosis are always welcome, and I will be glad to answer those. Any questions about neuro-linguistic programming, any questions about life coaching, or anything that's on your mind that you want to share with the group, we're certainly open to that as we form a cohesive group that's a safe place to come and share and ask your questions. And hey, if nothing else, it's something interesting to do that might be a little more stimulating than just watching TV. So let's go ahead and check in, see who's joined us. May, hello. Kathleen, hello. Naomi, hello to you. Helena, hello. Ulrika, hello to you. Aliska, hello. And Angie, back from South Carolina, come visit the Low Country. I'll give you a tour. Well, thank you. I've been to the Low Country. I love Beaufort, where they've filmed part of Forrest Gump, and just South Carolina's got so many wonderful places. As part of it, we'll be talking about South Carolina as we get into today's topic, which is Brexit, which is the exit of Britain from the European Union, from the EU, so the UK leaving the EU, and we're going to talk about that. Arville says, hi Dr. Steve, hello to you. Louise, I live in Scotland. We voted to stay in Europe. Unfortunately, we are the minority. You know, I think as people look at the news today, and I'm of course not in the UK at all, I'm an American citizen, but I've been to Scotland, Ireland, England, and my ancestors are from those places as well. In addition, also Sweden and German and a few other countries that are in northwestern Europe, all in that neighborhood. Plus I have a little bit of American Indian in me, but mostly northwestern European. So I'm tuned into that news. I'm very interested in it, and apparently a lot of people woke up this morning and they were shocked. I was shocked when I saw the news last night because I didn't expect it. I didn't expect England to do that. I didn't expect, or I should say the UK to do that, because they're all acting together now. I didn't expect them to leave the European Union. The UK joined in, I believe it was 1973. I believe it was January 1st, 1973 that they joined. So most of my life, they've been in, and suddenly they're out. And I think a lot of people went to sleep last night thinking, well, I don't need to vote, or this is a done deal, or of course we're staying. And then they woke up this morning to find out they're not staying. So a lot of people are thinking, wow, I wish I had voted. So take that lesson to heart. Those of you who are looking forward to the elections coming up, especially in America, if you think things are going a certain way, well, your vote does count, and sometimes surprises happen. So while you have the power to do something, certainly exercise that power. That's what voting is all about. Let's go ahead and check in a little bit here. And Ms. Rowley says hello. Hello to you. Tamara says hello. Lisa says hello from Indu, I-N-D-U. And Dunca says hello, Steve. Have a great afternoon. Lisa says that was Indy. Okay, so I don't know what Indu or Indy are. So Lisa, if you could explain a little further exactly where you are, that would be great. Tracy says hello. Kathy says that hurt our stock market today, and we will be talking about that. Michelle says I voted to leave the EU. I got the result I seeked. There you go. And a lot of people are happy about it. A lot of people wanted it. And Ophelia says hello, Steve, and hello to you. So let's go ahead and get into it. I am neither a newscaster nor a psychologist. As I said at the top of the broadcast, I am a hypnotherapist with a doctorate in education. So what I want to talk about, though, is the psychological implications of Brexit, which is the British exit from the European Union. They've been in almost all of my life, and now they're leaving, so that's had an effect. And perhaps you woke up this morning and you found out your retirement account wasn't worth as much as it was yesterday if you're invested in stocks. And so we see a lot of people reacting on a psychological level. In fact, that's what drives the stock market. That's what drives investments globally. Fear or optimism. We've got the two going on. So right now we've got a lot of fear going on, a lot of people selling off. So how is that affecting you personally, psychologically? How are you dealing with that? And how do you deal with things like that, life's ups and downs? On the one hand, we can look at this like a bump in the road. Okay, they said they're leaving, and that's a limited event, probably have a limited event on the stock market and a few other things. But since it's going to take 2 years to really see itself to fruition, what's the big deal? On the other hand, we can look at that and we can say, well, in the UK, someone finally left the EU. What happened in America when that happened? When South Carolina said, hey, we're leaving the United States of America. And then we had Mississippi, Florida, Alabama, Georgia, Louisiana, Texas, all saying, yeah, us too. And we're also leaving. And then we had the Civil War. So we see that these things can tend to escalate. So we have the UK leaving, and already we have Italy and Hungary and a few others saying, hey, we'd like to leave also. So what happens? And so we have situations that can look kind of small and say, oh, that's way over there, it won't do anything. But then they become bigger situations and they become global. So how are you responding to that? Also, if you think about it in your life, how do you respond to little things like that? When you think of something is little and far away and it happens, how do you respond to that? What's your natural impulse? Do you leave? Do you run away? Do you run away out of fear, or are you calm about it? So the reaction of the stock market is nothing more than a psychological reaction. And it's a psychological reaction to something that people look at as potentially negative. And we see the British sterling dropping. We see a lot of things happening. Now, those who voted for it, and I'm neither for nor against it. I'm not a citizen of the UK, so I'm neither for nor against it. I think they should do what they want to do. But what I'm saying is that these things have implications. These things have implications for all of us. And we can also look at the way we think about our lives. Do we overreact? How tuned in are we to what's going on? Let's go ahead and catch up. I'm seeing a lot of commentary here I want to catch up on. And by the way, if you're just joining, go ahead and like this, go ahead and share this, go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already, so that you'll know about updates. There should be something right about here that if you click on it, you'll be notified in the future of when I do these broadcasts. So let's go ahead and check in. Tamara says, hi, Steve. Lisa, hello to you. Tracy, hello. Kathy. Michelle, hello to you. Ophelia, hello. Michelle says, I work in finance, but my company was well prepared for financial advisors, policyholders. Good stuff. Angelica has joined us. Angelica, hello to you. John, the map is not the territory. The map is not the territory. Okay. John, if you could explain what you mean by that, that'd be great. You have Naomi says you have to stay calm and not sell, or you make it a permanent loss. As far as stocks are concerned, that's excellent advice. By the way, I do not give stock market advice. Anything that I say should not be used as financial advice whatsoever. I'm simply here to facilitate conversation and to deal with the psychological outfall of what's happened, or fallout, I should say, of what's happened, because we have a lot of people very, very anxiety-ridden right now. What's going on? Where is this going to go? What does this mean for me personally, even if they don't live in the UK? We're seeing a lot of concern, so I wanted to open up a forum for that, but I'm in no way giving financial advice. But Naomi, I like your suggestion. Remain calm. Christy says, hello, Dr. Steve. I am Christy, your number one idol. Well, thank you, Christy. Good to hear from my number one idol. Ellie says, hi, Steve. Hello to you. Naomi says it's a ripple effect. Yeah, when you think about it, the Brexit is a ripple effect. You know, something happens there and we think, oh, it's just there, but actually the global markets are tied together. And people say when China sneezes, the rest of the world gets a cold, or maybe reversed. But you know it is, when China sneezes, the rest of the world can catch a cold, because China is such a large economic base that when something happens there, it affects the world. And now we see that the EU is the same way. We see the S&P 500 dropping, I think it was 2 to 3%, and it may even get worse. And so we do see that, Naomi, that ripple effect, and that causes an effect on us personally that we have to deal with. So even if you're not concerned about that, even if you don't have a retirement account that invests in stocks, even if you're not involved in it in any way, still, we can take a lesson from this. How do you react when you hear negative news? How do you take it? Do you say, okay, that's just life happening, that's a function of life, or do you really strongly react, or do you tend to overreact? So we can learn a lesson for ourselves from this. And let's see. Michelle says, I work with investments, and I feel personally that any dips in the market is just a temporary setback, unless there are other factors involved, such as terrorist attacks or war. Then things will soon pick up. That is a valid point. Brenda says, I'd love to hear from folks in Britain if they are here and how they feel about this and why they opted to leave or stay. Absolutely, I would too. And Jahira has joined. Angie says the audio keeps stopping and I cherish every second. My apologies for that, even though I don't have any control over it, but you can always listen to the replay. They keep the replays on here on Facebook. And Tina says, hello from Portugal. Hello to you. Jahira says, awesome. Good afternoon, Dr. Steve. I love you. Enjoy your afternoon. Well, thank you. John says, too many people, it appears, used this as a protest against the government who they feel isolated by. Yeah, there's a lot of issues going on over there, and I'm not up to date on all of them, but I do know there's a big immigration situation going on, and that's mirrored here in the U.S. also. In fact, we see that as a point which people who are running for president here are using. We're talking about immigration and the challenges of immigration. We've got a lot of immigration issues in America, but in Europe they're even intensified because we've got much smaller areas being inundated by people who are moving in, just mass immigration going on. So we see part of the reaction based on that. Of course, it's multifactorial, just like everything else. Some people probably just look at it as a chance to be independent, but I honestly thought Scotland recently. I remember I was over in Scotland and I was talking to them when I happened to be there, and it was right before they decided whether or not they were going to leave the UK, and I thought they were going to, actually, and they didn't. So when this vote came up, I thought, well, the UK is not going to leave the EU, and I think a lot of people thought that, and then they are. So I personally find this quite shocking. I believe that they should do what they want to do, so I'm not saying one way or the other whether it's right or wrong, but I am shocked by the news, as are a lot of people. Obviously, the markets are too. The stock market had already thought that, wow, this is a done deal, they're not going to leave, and then the markets were rallying, and then suddenly they dropped after this news. So obviously the markets were not predicting this in a big way. Michelle says, although I generally don't discuss politics, my own, same here, and this is not a political show. Although I generally don't discuss politics, my own feeling is that the UK leaving the EU will be the beginning of the end for the European Union. There are many felt that this union was on a similar parallel to the Soviet Union. Interesting. Well, that is a possibility. You know, Europe does have a history of a lot of unrest. You know, look at the world wars, World War I, World War II. After World War I, America said, no, we're not getting involved anymore. World War II happened, and the attack on Pearl Harbor, and America said, yep, we're getting involved in this one also. So we started helping, and we really got involved. And my father was actually a paratrooper in the 82nd and 101st Airborne. So at the end of World War II, going in there to close the pincers along with the Russians on one end and pretty much the rest of the world on the other end, closing the pincers against the forces of Hitler and so forth. And so Europe is not exempt from things that do affect the world. We, from time to time, throughout history, do see things happening in Europe that we think, well, we're the United States, how's that going to affect us? And it does, in a big way. So yes, this could very well be a ripple effect. How do you feel about that? How do you feel psychologically about that? How do you feel when things like that happen in your life? How do you respond? Coping mechanisms are great to have during this time, whether it's hypnosis or meditation, or perhaps you simply don't care, and that's fine too, because maybe this really doesn't affect you that much, and that's absolutely fine too. But what about when something happens that does affect you, that does ripple out to you? As will this. This will affect you somehow, but maybe not to a large extent. But how do you react? Do you have coping techniques built into place? Are you using hypnosis? Are you using meditation? Are you using seeing a therapist? How do you cope? So it's a lesson that we can take to ourselves about our individual selves and how we act in a collective group. And so let's take a look and check in and see what's going on with the comments. And if you haven't already, go ahead and like this. Go ahead and share this. I believe these buttons are the bottom, and there's a little button that should be right about here where you can, if you click on it, you'll be notified when I go live. So if you want to see when I'm live, if you're thinking, hey, when's this guy going to be on again? When's Dr. Steve going live again? You'll get a notification on Facebook if you're on Facebook at that time. Lizzie says, I'm from Britain. Well, Lizzie, we'd love to hear from you. Carol says, hello. Mike Gal says, I'm in Scotland and voted to remain. I'm disappointed. And the separation will, like any divorce, have complications, but ultimately we'll, of course, be fine. And I completely agree with that. There are bumps in the road, but ultimately things will level off. And the markets are very, very wary of this. I mean, China is doing everything it can to be on standby to make adjustments where they need to, for example. So we've got a lot of the big powers stepping in and saying, hey, if this messes up anything, we're going to take actions to stabilize the market. So, Mike, I agree. This is going to be fine overall. But in the short term, it's a little messy. Celia says, have a nice day. Well, you too. Thank you. Christine says, hi, Dr. Steve from Pittsburgh, PA. Hello, Christine. Lizzie says, it's not the end of the world. Sometimes you need to let go of stuff for more amazing things to come. Well, that is well said, Lizzie. I like your outlook. I think that is, you know, no matter which side you are on of that, if you're on a side, and a lot of people in the world were not on a side, but if you're in the UK or specifically in the UK, but in the EU in general, you probably had a strong opinion one way or the other, because it could tremendously affect you. But whatever your opinion was, we have reality now. Reality is that Britain has voted to leave the EU. We have to be okay with that. We have to realize that life continues and there are other amazing opportunities coming. Jason says, hi, Steve. Jason from the Philippines. Hello, Jason. And Philippines could be affected, of course, because the sterling has dropped, and a lot of people who are working freelance in the Philippines could be affected in the short term by this. Also, airlines are being affected, airlines that fly to the UK. So we see a lot of effects on people who don't think they're being affected. Lizzie says from UK. All right. Carol says, hello, Steve. Hello to you. Lizzie says, law of attraction. All right. Thank you, Lizzie. Neelan says, hello, Dr. Steve. Happy weekend to you. Well, thank you, too. Same to you, Neelan. Christina says, hi, Steve from London. Negative effect for a lot of people out here, but in most cases surely have a positive outcome as well. And that's the best attitude to have. I mean, no matter which side you are on, it is what it is, so look on the bright side. Karen says, it will be okay. Absolutely. Jennifer says, hi, sweetie. Looking good. Thank you, Jennifer. Lizzie said, I voted to leave UK. All right, well, it looks like your wish came true, Lizzie. And Bera says, hello, Steve from Ireland. Hello, Bera. If you want to share your opinion on this, feel free. Michelle says, I personally feel that people are no longer believing what politicians tell us. People in general have become more savvy, and politicians need to change their style and how they deliver their messages. Okay, thank you for sharing that, Michelle. And Miss Rowley says, cheers for the Brits. All right, apparently Miss Rowley in favor of what happened. Christy says, I want to meet you, Dr. Steve, but I'm so far away from you. How can I meet you? Well, let me know where you are, first of all, and I can let you know if I'm going to be in your country or state anytime, and we'll take it from there. But generally, if I have an event, which is rare for me, you can meet me. One opportunity for everyone to meet me is coming up in August. I'll be speaking at something called Hypno Thoughts Live, which will be in Las Vegas, 2016 in August. I believe it's August 25th through 30th. So just Google that, Hypno Thoughts, one word, live, Dr. Steve G. Jones, and you should find the registration there. So if you want to meet me live, you can come to Las Vegas in August, and I will be glad to meet with you, and I'll be glad to teach you also. We're talking about marketing for holistic professionals, chiropractors, acupuncturists, hypnotherapists, even massage therapists, how they can take what they do and put it online and monetize it. But primarily we'll have hypnotherapists there. You don't have to be a hypnotherapist or any of the other professions that I mentioned to go. You can simply be a person who's interested. So check it out, Hypno Thoughts Live, Dr. Steve G. Jones, that's what you want to Google to find it. My friend Scott Sandlin runs it, and he's just a great guy. He's a forward thinker. He's run this thing called Hypno Thoughts forever online, where people get there and share their feelings about hypnosis and vent sometimes, and he decided to make it live. So this year they've got, I think, between 1,000 and 2,000 people showing up. So it's absolutely outstanding. So there you go. There's the answer, Christy. You can meet me in August. Karen says, yes, hypnosis and mindfulness. Absolutely. Christy says, hello, Steve. Good morning. Good morning to you, Christy. Lizzie says, as a coach, share positivity. Absolutely. Irene says, we just believe always that it will be fine. That is good. So always believing that it'll be fine is great, and taking necessary precautions and doing things in a wise way also works well with that plan. Michelle says, I feel things in Europe needed to change. I am a person that generally embraces change. In difficult situations, I find my survival instinct tends to kick in, and I do my best to deal with events as they come along. That's an excellent attitude, Michelle, and that's really what we're talking about here. A way for you to be okay with what's going on in the world, because think about it. What if this were closer to home? What if you found out, like my friend Frank found out recently, that his father was diagnosed with cancer? You know, that's a lot closer to home. That's going to impact you a lot more than the global news that's going on right now. How do you deal with that? How do you deal with news? How do you deal with situations that come up? Do you have a way to deal with stress and to get yourself relaxed? Do you have a way to deal with that? So whether it's hypnosis or meditation, whether it's going to my new website, hypnosisbystevegjones.com, or looking into your own way of relaxing, whatever it is, how do you deal with it? And that's important to have in place before these things come up. So you can use this as an opportunity to say, hey, wait a minute, bumps in the road do happen in life. How am I prepared for that? So interested in hearing how you deal with it, hypnosis, meditation, or anything else. How do you deal with stress? John says, today in the UK, the mood is angry. Tomorrow, everyone will begin coming to terms with where we are at, and we move forward. Okay, thank you for bringing us up to date, John. I imagine I imagine there are obviously two groups of people. One group is very, very happy. The other group is very, very angry. Some people in the middle, I imagine. And it's, I think a lot of people waking up scratching their head saying, wait a minute, I thought we were staying. I thought this was a done deal. And now we're leaving? I think a lot of people are waking up shocked. And so Kathy says, my mom says we will bounce back like we did in the recession. Absolutely. There's always the bouncing back that happens. And let's see, Ehab says, I am in Scotland now. I can feel the energy in the space. It is very confused and fear-based one, but I feel more awakened economy is in the born. Okay, excellent, excellent outlook. So feeling confident in the face of a lot of anxiety. So a lot of people anxious around you. And that's really the way it is when you master your emotional states, when you really start to use hypnosis or NLP or life coaching or meditation or anything else, you learn to be a master of your states. So whatever happens in your life, yes, you're going to have an emotional reaction to it, of course, but you're going to be okay. And you're going to look at it just the way that person did. So Ehab, I appreciate you sharing that. The positive outlook that you have ahead. Mike says, the difference between leave and remain was only 1 million people, as there were only two options. It's kind of crazy that such a huge decision has essentially boiled down to the difference of opinion of only 500,000 people. That's less than 1% of the UK population. Wow. I think your vote, if you think your vote doesn't count, this is proof that it really does. Use your vote, absolutely. And I guarantee that if, and this may happen, who knows, but if that vote were taken again, if they said, okay, wait a minute now, a lot of people are protesting, let's take the vote again, a lot more people would turn out because, yes, Mike, they realize that their vote does count. And that's the way it is. So there's another lesson for you. We've got the election in America coming up, and every 4 years we have a presidential election, just like clockwork. It always happens. So if you think that your vote doesn't count, whatever your vote may be, think again, because in big enough numbers, your vote absolutely counts. And the way you get big numbers is by you doing your part. So John says, first time for a long time there is an interest in politics. I can imagine, the same thing in the U.S. We've got some interesting candidates running this year. Very unusual election year. I myself have taken an interest in it for the first time in a long time in the United States presidential election politics, and now John, obviously this is something the UK is very interested in, and even those who weren't interested in it are now interested in it. I imagine it'll be the same after Election Day in the United States. People who weren't that interested will say, wow, I didn't expect that. Whatever the outcome is, somebody's going to react that way. Some group of people is going to react that way, and they're going to wish that they had taken action when they could. So take that as a lesson. If you have a chance to speak your mind, speak it. Chris says, what's inspirational about today's decision is that many of us put aside concerns for material security in lieu of higher principles of liberty and democracy. Excellent. Well said. Christina says, absolutely love what you do. Perhaps we'll attend one of your events. Namaste. Excellent. Debbie says, hi, Dr. Steve. Hoping you're having a great day. I am. Always glad to talk to everyone here. Marley says, good evening from Germany, Dr. Steve. Hello to you, and Germany, of course, being part of the EU, and we'll see what happens with Germany. So I imagine there's a lot of unrest in Germany. But Marley, if you want to share that with us, feel free. And McGilla says, meditation always works for me. Michelle says, my dad left Hungary during the 1956 uprising when the Russians were invading the country, and he was one of those that revolted and consequently left his homeland. He went behind a job with a prestigious organization but had no choice as his friends were executed. Had he stayed, his fate would have been the same. He also felt the EU is not a good thing for the people of Europe. Well, now Hungary is agreeing with him, so we're seeing some unrest in Hungary. So we'll see how that develops. Brenda says, as far as dealing with stress, I put on my headphones and I listen to music and forget about things for a short time. There you go. Edie says, hello, Steve. Hello to you. Trina says, this was long overdue. I have suffered 40 years of the EU. We should have been given the option in 1985. Yesterday, I had my say. My father fought against a European superpower. Why were the warmongers and bankers so keen to keep us in? Life will go on. The rich will still be rich and the poor will still be poor. Obviously, Trina has a strong political view, and I appreciate you sharing that. Debbie says, my doctor says no stress every time I see him. Maybe I need stress hypnosis. Not sure what you mean by that. But hypnosis to relieve stress is always good. Cynthia says, good morning, Dr. Steve from Cynthia, Fiji. Have a wonderful and meaningful weekend. Well, thank you very much. Yasmin says, hello, Dr. Jones. Lizzie says, we're all still people, all one planet, all one race. Well said. Theodora says, I wish you a happy weekend. Marikar says, good evening, Dr. Jones. Nice to see you. Well, nice to see you too, even though I probably didn't pronounce your name right. So if you're just joining us, I'm actually wrapping up now. If anyone has any last things to share, feel free. Also, after this is over, feel free to post your opinions. I know we've got a lot of anxiety going on, a lot of strong feelings, a lot of people saying it's great, a lot of people saying it's awful, talking about Brexit. And most importantly, the lesson that you can take away is how do you respond to stress? Because sooner or later, as life happens, something's going to happen that does affect you, even if this doesn't, or even if you don't feel that it does. It really affects us globally, no matter what you think. But how will you respond to something when you really feel that it does affect you, and you're really tuned into it affecting you? And so we look for coping mechanisms, we look at hypnosis, we look at meditation. What are you doing on a day-to-day basis that's helping you live a more calm life? So I want you to take this as an opportunity to look into that. And also thank you for people who are actually in the UK who chimed in and shared their opinions. We appreciate hearing an upfront view. The whole world is affected. The whole world is watching, even if they weren't watching yesterday. We're definitely watching today because it's something that's had a ripple effect, probably short term, but we now see Italy and Hungary looking at the UK saying, hey, maybe that's a good idea. So we'll see what happens. We'll tune in. Thank you all for your opinions. Thanks for everything. Trina says, let's all listen to Neil Young and relax. That sounds great. You know, I've always envied Neil. He moved out to California and a place out in the woods with acreage all around him. And reminds me of my friend Joe Vitale, who has a place with acreage all around him. Just that's what you need. Even if you don't have that in your life, a place where you live with acreage all around you, you at least need to create that in your mind. And that's one of the things hypnosis does. So if hypnosis can help you, check out the new website, hypnosisbystevegjones.com. Look into whatever works for you to help you relax. How can you create that oasis in your mind that's surrounded by acreage, where you have a buffer against what's going on? You're still acknowledging the world, but you're not affected as badly as you could be because you're insulated from stress. And you can create that even if you live in a busy city in an apartment. You can create that in your mind. So that's what we want to take away from this. How can you build up your resilience? How can you be calm in any situation? Yes, you'll react emotionally. We're all human. We all do. But you'll be okay. So how can you ensure that? By working on yourself. That's always the best answer. So thank you again for everyone for joining, especially those from the UK who shared their upfront, front row seats view of what's going on. We'll see how this unfolds. I hope everyone has a great weekend, and I will look forward to talking with you on Monday. My love and best wishes to all of you. I'm Dr. Steve G. Jones, hoping you have an outstanding day.